I think I'm... Yeah, so we need to share this. Cool. Cheers, dude. Hello, hello. Apologies for the confusion there. We started with a different setup and we just had to jump over to this stream to get this running. So we'll give a couple more minutes for everybody just to arrive. And I'll start sharing my screen. Awesome. We're going to get kicked off at 22. We have quite a few updates today. We've given the chat a big upgrade. Just one more minute and we'll get kicked off here. Hey, welcome, welcome. We're going to kick off in just 30 seconds. For the people who have just joined, apologies, we had some technical difficulties with the stream. We set it to the wrong setting, so we just have to jump into this link here. Is my mic okay? Is there a problem? There we go, maybe that's better. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to jump in now. So welcome to the stream. We're going to try and do a weekly webinar here. I'm Gary, one of the co-founders here, and I'll be taking the webinar today. Just want to kick off by saying we've been working hard on the agent and the chat. That's been the primary focus, and we're pleased to announce some big upgrades to that. For people who have been here for a while and been as part of the earlier versions of the app, you will have seen that the history is new for us. We also have a lot better control over the timelines. And the media pool, the way that the agent understands the media pool is much greater. So it can look for things that are close matches and not exact matches, and it can kind of order that and rank that and pull out the most relevant thing. We've also given it a big upgrade in terms of how it can edit and the structure that it follows for that. So we're training it to be better on those areas. You also don't need to do at media anymore. It will just grab the relevant parts of your media to do that. And we have the update timeline is now in chat, so you can have a kind of rolling back if you wanted an older version of the timeline. Some of these upgrades, it's worth mentioning, are currently in our preview build. So what we're showing you today hasn't hit the live production. That will be in sometime toward the end of next week, and we'll send out another blast once that's done. And we've also done various other improvements, such as captions improvements, which I'll go over in a moment. And last week we had a couple bugs that was in the timeline when there was elements with really short duration. We've fixed those, but there was a comment mentioned on the video that Richie was having his Steve Jobs moment. So we've basically built today's session around the iPhone announcement, taking that whole event and chopping that into a shorter event. Cool. The last thing I wanted to say is once we do the next big push, you'll be able to upload up to hour-long videos and be able to do all of this highlight reel. Currently, we're capped to 10-minute uploads. Okay, great. So let's jump into it. First of all, I just want to play you a video of a really short highlight. It's pulled out from the full event. So if you're not so familiar with the platform, we have all of our videos here in the media pool. You can press play and then preview it, and you can see these are all 10 minutes long. Or you can jump in and check out the metadata where we understand everything about the clips. All of this info goes into the chat to help you decide on how to do the best edit. So let me play this.
And we picked the best one in the world, Safari. We have Safari running on iPhone. It is the first fully usable HTML browser on a phone. Third, we have Google Maps. Maps, satellite images, directions, and traffic. This is unbelievable. Wait till you see it. And today, we are announcing with Yahoo that they are going to provide free push IMAP email to all iPhone customers. This isn't just IMAP email. It is push IMAP email. So when you get a message, it'll push it right out to the phone for you. Same as a BlackBerry. Free IMAP push email from you. So we think this is a pretty big deal. Last century, visual voicemail, calendar, SMS texting, incredible photo app, the ability to just take any picture and make it your wallpaper. It's pretty unbelievable. And I think when you have a chance to get your hand on it, you'll agree we have reinvented the.
Okay, great. So this is pretty much out of the gate, a 60-second edit here from the full event. We also have the ability to do smaller edits. So what I'll do is I'll just kick this off now to show you how it works, and then we can dive into the next highlight here. So you can say, create me a viral highlight video from my media. Great. So this is going to go in and this is going to grab all of our media, and then it's going to ask us our preferred video duration. So we have 30, 60, 90 or something along those lines. For the sake of this, let's do another short 15-second script. Hey, James. Welcome. Curious to hear what everybody's use case is for this kind of taking really long footage and reducing it down into shorter videos. What this is going to do is this is going to pull out 2 to 3 script options of our preferred duration, and it will cut those scripts together. Just seen a message from James there. Yeah, we work at 30 FPS on the timeline, so it's the same as the FPS of Instagram and all the major socials like that. If you upload 50 FPS, I believe it can be dropped down. In the tool, I think we basically keep it, but when we render at 30, if that makes sense. So that would drop frame, or you can time stretch it. Okay, cool. So this has outputted a bunch of different options for us. And so we can pick whatever one we want here. It also gives us the approximate runtime. It tries to grab segments that make sense contextually rather than just forcing it to the time that you've given it. And then if you want to make a more aggressive edit, you can do that. Let's have a look. Okay, let's go with option 1 here. This looks the most interesting. Something we've noticed that's really interesting is we tried a bunch of different videos for this. We found for hyper optimized content like Mr. Beast, it will often take the video and kind of just recut a section very similar to how it had it before. We found that it works better in, for example, videos that the content is, it's engaging, it's a good edit. It definitely helps from having a good edit to cut down to a shorter edit, but it is there's like a kind of a delta between how good the edit is compared to the algorithm and how good the typical edit is. And so content like Mr. Beast, where it's already hyper optimized, doesn't see as much of a difference. So you can kind of use that as a sort of optimization to see how you're doing against the average video on the social media. Okay, this is having an error, but it should be able to recover itself as it goes through. Let's have a look at this current timeline, and then we can also clear this timeline just to demonstrate.
We wanted the best web browser in the world on our phone, not a baby web browser or a WAP browser, a real web browser. And we picked the best one in the world, Safari. And we have Safari running on iOS.
There we go. So that was a 15-second demo of that. So let me just open up a new timeline here. And what we've done with the way that we've built the app is that we let the chat update any timeline that you're on. So if you wanted to create variations, you'd be able to go back to a chat that had a timeline that you liked, create a new timeline, and then just update that. Okay, cool. One of the other big upgrades with the chat is that it's able to call a series of different tools. So it can also diagnose itself when it runs into problems, and it can go a different way about it. You know, with the technology of these LLMs, it's good to be able to respond to various problems and correct itself where possible. Let's just open in a new chat where we have a blank timeline, and it has a clean slate to work from. Okay, great. Let's go for 15 seconds again. So we recommend trying a series of different content and seeing how it performs best. One of the use cases that we've seen come up a lot is the desire to be able to do events, so large amounts of media. And that's absolutely possible with this tool. And you can generate very rapidly different shortcuts of it. So if you want a 15, a 30, or a 60, or a 90. Okay, so let's take a highlight of option 2. Great, this is just going in and grabbing that. So what it'll do is it'll find all of the pieces of text in the script, and it will line up a timeline suitable for that, adhering to the best practice it can. So if there is something that's hooky in the video, what it can do is find those hooks, present them to you, and then assemble a timeline around a sort of coherent narrative. So playing around with a few YouTube videos the other day, we found one 15-minute video might have 3 or 4 different kind of mini narratives you can pull out of that. So you can keep recycling content that you have to create more and more videos. Okay, cool. So this one went through successfully. And this is going to be an example of Steve talking about the pinch on the phone, I believe. Every time you run this, it pulls out slightly different, varied video ideas, but it'll typically sort of oscillate around the same 5 to 10 per video, because they're the core ideas of any given video. Okay, cool. So let's give this a play. Oh, and apologies if there's any stuttering. That'll be the stream here.
I can just take my fingers and we call it I can bring them closer together or move them further apart to make it bigger or smaller. That's cool. And move it around.
There we go. So that's just a really quick 15-second example. You could pull loads and loads of those out of your videos, particularly the long events, and just have those as highlight reels. We will be adding the functionality to have front-loaded hooks as well, so that you can choose to have a series of different hooks and roll out the video with different text-based hooks to see what really works and gets people watching the videos. As I said before, we also have upgraded the caption. So you can just change this to say 1 if you wanted to have it more like a sort of TikTok style caption, and just go in and update these. There you go, and then that will follow.
So I can I can just take my fingers and I can bring them closer together and move them further.
Cool. Okay, great. So that's the general idea. You can then work with the chat if you want to do different versions. I can show you an older chat I had earlier in terms of how we can work through the process of creating the video. If you want to go for a longer one, they'll pull out more of a driven narrative that you can see the dialogue and see the approximate timings of. You can then read through that. You can ask it to sort of update or shorten it or extend it, and then it will basically go in and do that for you. Cool. Are there any questions? Okay, not so many questions today. So I can just take 5 or so minutes to talk about some of the other parts of the app that we have here, where we will be seeing some new changes soon. So we have our text to image. This is worth noting that this works out based on the aspect ratio of the canvas. We have 4:5, 16:9, or 9:16. So if you set that to 9:16, that will generate the correct size. We also have these edits with the mask. So if you wanted to grab something on the timeline, for example, if we wanted to grab Steve over here and we just wanted to change an element of this, we could grab this and capture this frame, drop this into here, and then we could just generate a thumbnail for this if we wanted to just post this as a YouTube video just to complete the process. So we could try or you could play around, you know, depending on the background, make something slightly different, and then you could add your text in as well. So then you can generate your thumbnail for your video. And once you put it all together, you can have your output video with the thumbnail, with the hook, and everything like that. Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining another webinar for Electric Sheep. And we'd love to hear any questions that you have as a follow-up. We'd love to hear your experience using the new chat. We will be sending that out and giving you the latest and greatest on that as it gets deployed to our live website. Awesome. Thanks for coming, everyone. Cheers.